The first thing I remember is the sound of my own heartbeat. Too loud, too fast, like it was trying to outrun what I'd just seen. By the time anyone realized the courthouse footage mattered, it was already gone. Wiped clean. Efficient. Professional. The kind of deletion that doesn't happen by accident. All except for one fragment. 12 seconds. Corrupted. Glitching. But enough. Enough to see a face that wasn't supposed to be there. Enough to realize I wasn't chasing a mistake. I was standing inside it. I didn't have time to think about consequences after that. Only direction. 3 hours later, I don't remember how I made it through the outer security layers of the governor's residence. I remember the blood, mine, dripping from my sleeve onto polished floors that had probably never seen anything like it. I remember guards shouting, hands grabbing me, someone yelling to get me out. And then I saw her. Governor Aria Bennett stood at the far end of the chamber, framed by cold white light, surrounded by people who looked like they'd never been told no in their lives. I think I tried to stand straighter. Didn't work. There, my voice came out wrong. Thick, broken. I tasted iron. They're inside. Someone grabbed my shoulder harder. I shook them off just enough to take another step forward, my legs already giving out beneath me. Your counsel. I forced the words out, lifting the data pad with shaking fingers. The room tilted. The last thing I saw before I hit the floor was her expression change. Not fear. Not yet. But something close enough to make me believe I'd made it far enough. I expected to be dragged out the second I hit the floor. That's how it usually goes. You bleed on the wrong marble, you get removed. Quietly, efficiently. Problem solved. Instead, I heard her voice. Stop. It wasn't loud. It didn't need to be. Everything in the room froze like someone had cut the power to reality itself. Hands that had been gripping my arms tightened for a second, then released. Boots shifted, but no one moved forward. No one moved back. Let him go, she said. There was a pause, just long enough for someone to make a mistake. Governor, this man is clearly unstable, one of them said. Male voice. Controlled. Polished. The kind of voice trained to sound reasonable even when it's not. He's breached multiple security layers. He's armed with unknown data, and I said. She repeated, a fraction colder this time. Let him go. The hands were gone after that. I didn't have the strength to get up, but at least I wasn't being forced down anymore. I stayed where I was, half curled on the polished floor, trying not to black out, trying to keep my grip on the datapad. Footsteps approached. Slow. Measured. I forced my head up. She didn't look like the kind of person who needed to prove anything. Tall, composed, dressed in something minimal and precise. No unnecessary detail, no wasted motion. But her eyes, they weren't on the guards. They were on me. Give me the datapad, she said. I tightened my grip instinctively. Not because I didn't trust her, because I didn't trust anyone in that room. They're inside. I repeated, my voice scraping against my throat. Not outside threats. Not external. I heard you, she said. Closer now. Close enough that I could see the subtle shift in her expression, the part she wasn't showing the others. Not doubt. Not dismissal. Focus. That was worse. Because people like her didn't focus unless something mattered. A shadow moved to her side. Your Majesty. Another voice began, softer this time, but sharper underneath. Female. Careful. We don't know what he's brought in here. He could be infected, compromised, carrying. Seal the chamber. That did it. The entire room reacted at once. Confusion, disbelief, tension snapping tight like a wire pulled too far. Governor, you can't be serious, the first man said again, a crack finally showing through his composure. You're proposing a full internal lockdown because of this? Yes. No hesitation. No room for interpretation. Seal it, she repeated. No one in. No one out. For a moment, no one moved. And that told me everything I needed to know. Not loyalty. Not obedience. Calculation. They were measuring her. Measuring the cost of defying her against something else. Something bigger. Something that made their silence dangerous. Then, finally, the doors sealed. Heavy. Final. Irreversible. The soft hiss of the system locking into place echoed through the chamber like a verdict. Air pressure shifted slightly. Systems recalibrated. Communications cut. We were alone now. Completely alone. With them. I let out a breath I didn't realize I'd been holding, and the room spun harder for it. My vision blurred at the edges, but I forced myself to stay conscious. Not yet. Not until she saw it. She crouched in front of me. Not a gesture for them. For me. Now, she said quietly, holding out her hand. Give it to me. I hesitated. Not long. Just enough to look at her again. Really look this time. Not at the title. Not at the power. At the person making the decision. And for a second, something didn't line up. Because she should have been angry. Or afraid. Or detached. Instead, she looked like someone who had just stepped onto a path she couldn't step off. I placed the data pad in her hand. The moment it left my grip, I felt it. That thin thread of control snapping. Everything I had dragged through blood and broken corridors was hers now. Behind her, I could feel the shift in the room. Attention sharpening. Eyes watching. Waiting. For her reaction. For confirmation. For something. She activated the screen. The light from it reflected in her eyes as the first layer of encrypted data unfolded. Fast, clean, precise. She didn't speak. Didn't react. Not outwardly. But I saw it. The smallest flicker. Recognition. And something else. Something colder. Something that made my chest tighten despite the pain already tearing through it. Because whatever she was seeing, it wasn't new to her. That realization hit harder than anything else. I tried to push myself up. Didn't work. My body gave out halfway through, pain crashing through my ribs like a shockwave. She didn't look up. Medical, she said calmly. Now. No hesitation this time. They moved. Fast. Too fast. Like they'd been waiting for permission. Hands on me again, but different now. Controlled, clinical, efficient. Pressure on wounds. Scanners activating. Voices overlapping in short, sharp exchanges. I barely registered it. Because I was watching her. Still reading. Still silent. Still standing in the center of a room full of people who suddenly looked a lot less certain than they had a minute ago. One of them stepped forward again. Governor, he said carefully, every word placed with precision. We need to understand what exactly you're looking at. She didn't answer. Didn't even acknowledge him. Just kept reading. And that's when I knew. I hadn't brought her a warning. I had brought her confirmation. My vision darkened at the edges again. This time, I couldn't stop it. The last thing I heard before everything slipped away was her voice, quieter than before, but sharper than anything else in the room. No one leaves, she said. And for the first time since I entered that chamber, no one argued. If you've watched this far, then this story is really interesting to you. Please confirm it by clicking like under this video. It doesn't cost you anything, but it will help me understand what story to publish for you next. Let's move on. When I woke up, the first thing I noticed wasn't the pain. It was the silence. Not the empty kind. Not absence. But control. The kind of silence that exists when every sound is intentional. When nothing happens unless someone allows it. Then the pain came. Slow at first. A deep, spreading ache in my ribs, my side, my lungs. Like my body was reminding me exactly how close I'd come to not waking up at all. I opened my eyes. Soft light. Clean walls. No visible equipment. But I could feel it. The low hum of systems working around me. Monitoring, stabilizing, waiting. A recovery chamber. Government level. Which meant two things. 1, I wasn't dead. 2, I wasn't free. You're awake. Her voice. I turned my head, slower than I wanted to, and there she was. Governor Aria Bennett sat a few feet away, no guards in sight, no advisors, no audience. Just her, in the same composed posture, hands resting lightly on her knees, watching me like she had been there for a while. How long? I asked. My voice was rough, but at least it worked. 8 hours, she said. You lost more blood than you should have survived. Wouldn't be the first time. It slipped out before I could stop it. Something shifted in her eyes. Not sympathy. Recognition. That made me uneasy. She leaned forward slightly. The data you brought, she said. Start explaining. Straight to it. No small talk. No false concern. Good. I tried to push myself up. Didn't work. Pain flared sharp enough to make my vision blur. Don't, she said, not unkindly. You'll reopen the internal sutures. Wouldn't want that, I muttered. She didn't smile. But something about the air between us changed. Less formal. More direct. I took a breath, steadying myself. The courthouse footage, I said. It was wiped before the review board even flagged it. That doesn't happen unless someone with high-level access initiates it manually. I'm aware, she said. Of course she was. I swallowed. There was a fragment left behind. Corrupted, but recoverable in parts. 12 seconds. Enough to show an unauthorized presence inside a restricted corridor. Her gaze sharpened. Someone from your council, I added. Silence. Not surprise. Calculation. I cross-referenced entry logs. I continued. They were clean. Too clean. No discrepancies, no delays, no anomalies. Which means they weren't bypassed. They were rewritten, she said. I nodded slightly. From inside. That part hung in the air. Because we both knew what it meant. Not an outsider breach. Not an external threat. Internal. Deliberate. She stood up and moved to a nearby console. With a gesture, she pulled up the data I had brought. Layers of encrypted files unfolding in structured sequences, connections mapping themselves across the display. You're missing a section, she said after a moment. Not a question, a statement. Yeah, I said, forcing myself to stay conscious. The core link. The part that connects the individuals to the execution order. Why? Because it's locked behind a clearance level I don't have. And you couldn't bypass it? I gave a weak, humorless breath. I got through 3 firewalls, 2 dead-end loops, and a system designed to flag anomalies before they exist. That last layer? I shook my head slightly. That's not standard government encryption. She turned back to me. What is it? Legacy protocol, I said. Pre-reform architecture. The kind that doesn't show up in modern systems because it was never officially decommissioned. Something changed. Subtle, but real. Because that mattered. That meant this wasn't just a current conspiracy. It had roots. Old ones. I saw something else, I added. Her attention locked back onto me instantly. In the fragment, I said, before the corruption spikes, there's a reflection. Not clear, but enough to catch a detail. What detail? I hesitated. Not because I didn't want to say it. Because I wasn't sure how she'd react. A ring, I said finally. Signet style. Engraved. Not visible in official records, but I've seen it before. Where? In archived press footage, I said. From your inauguration. That hit. Not visibly, but I felt it. Because now we weren't just talking about infiltration. We were talking about proximity. Who, she asked. I don't know, I admitted. The fragment cuts before I can confirm the identity. But the angle, the positioning, it wasn't someone in the background. I met her eyes. It was someone close to you. Silence stretched. Longer this time. Heavier. Behind her, the data continued to scroll, lines connecting, patterns forming, gaps still visible where the missing fragment should have been. That missing section, she said slowly. It completes the structure. Yeah. And without it, you have suspicion, I said. Not proof. She turned back to the display, and for the first time since I'd met her, I saw it. Not fear. Not doubt. Something sharper. Personal. Like the line between her authority and something else had just been crossed. I can access it, she said. I blinked. What? The final layer, she clarified. It's locked behind executive clearance. My chest tightened. That means, yes. Her voice didn't waver. It's tied to my office. There it was. The missing piece. The thing that had been bothering me since the moment I saw that corrupted fragment. This wasn't just a plot against her. It was built into the system that put her there. You understand what that means? I said quietly. She looked at me again. And this time, there was no distance left. Yes, she said. Then, after a pause, I do. Something in my chest eased. Not relief. Not safety. Just confirmation. I hadn't dragged myself through blood and locked corridors for nothing. But it also meant something else. Something worse. They're not going to wait, I said. Her gaze didn't leave mine. No, she agreed. They already tried to erase the evidence. I continued. They'll try again. Or they'll accelerate. Her expression hardened. Let them. I frowned slightly. You're not taking this seriously. I am, she said. Then she stepped closer. Close enough that I could see the exact moment the decision settled in her. I'm just not reacting the way they expect. That should have reassured me. It didn't. Because if she was right, then whatever came next wasn't going to be quiet. And for some reason I couldn't explain yet, that missing fragment still felt like the center of everything. Like whatever it revealed wouldn't just expose them. It would change her. And I wasn't sure she knew that yet. The first night she stayed, I thought it was strategy. The second night, I knew it wasn't. By the third, I couldn't tell the difference anymore. You're not sleeping, I said, staring at the ceiling instead of her. I am. Aria replied calmly from somewhere to my right. No, you're not. A pause. Then, quieter. Neither are you. Fair. The room was dim, lit by soft ambient panels that never quite turned off. Enough to keep everything visible, not enough to make it comfortable. Government design, efficient, controlled, just a little cold. I shifted slightly. Bad idea. Pain flared through my side, sharp and immediate. I exhaled through it, jaw tightening. "You're healing faster than expected," she said. "Yeah, I've been told I'm difficult like that." That earned a small reaction. Not a smile, but close. I turned my head. She was sitting in the same chair again, same posture, same stillness. But something about her had changed since the first time I saw her in that chamber. Less distant, like the walls she kept between herself and everything else had thinned. "Why are you still here?" I asked. This time, I looked directly at her. "Duty," I added. "Interrogation? Making sure I don't die before I finish being useful?" She didn't answer immediately. That was new. "Finally," she said, "all of the above." I huffed a quiet breath. "Honest, you prefer dishonesty?" "No," I said. "Just wasn't expecting it." Another pause. Then she stood, moved closer. Not rushed, not hesitant, deliberate. "You're the only person who's seen what you've seen," she said. "The only one who's been outside the system long enough to recognize it from the inside." "That's a flattering way to say I got lucky," I muttered. "No," she said. Something in her tone made me look up again. "That's a precise way to say you survived." That landed harder than I expected. I looked away. "Yeah," I said quietly. "That too." Silence stretched between us again. Not uncomfortable, just present. "You're still thinking about it," I said after a moment. "The fragment," she replied. "Yeah." Her gaze shifted, not to me, but somewhere past me, like she was replaying something in her head. "The gap," she said. "The same corruption pattern in both the courthouse footage and the data you brought." I nodded slightly. "Same signature. Same method." "Which means it wasn't random." "No," I said. "It was intentional." She folded her arms loosely, thinking. "Whoever erased it," she said slowly, "didn't want the identity revealed. Or didn't want you to recognize it," I added. That made her look back at me. Sharp. "Meaning?" I hesitated, then said it anyway. "If it was just about hiding evidence, they would have wiped everything. Clean sweep. No fragments." She didn't interrupt. "They left a piece," I continued. "Corrupted, but still there. Enough to trigger suspicion, not enough to confirm it." "Why?" "Because doubt is safer than certainty," I said. "If you suspect your own counsel, you hesitate. You question everyone. You slow down." Her eyes narrowed slightly. "And if I confirm it?" "Then you act," I said. "Fast. Decisive. Dangerous." The room felt smaller for a second, like the walls leaned in. "That missing fragment," she said, almost to herself. "It's not just proof." "No," I said quietly. "It's a trigger." Another silence. Heavier this time. Because now we weren't just talking about information. We were talking about control. And whoever was behind this had designed it carefully. Too carefully. "There's something else," I added. Her attention snapped back instantly. "What?" I swallowed, feeling the dryness in my throat. "The reflection," I said. "In the fragment. The ring." She didn't react immediately, but I saw it again. That flicker, the one she was trying to hide. "You've seen it before," I said. Not a question, a statement. Her jaw tightened, just slightly. "Where?" I pressed. She didn't answer. For a long moment, I thought she wouldn't. Then, "At my inauguration," she said. The words were controlled, measured, but underneath them, something else. "You remember it clearly," I said. "Yes." That confirmed it. "Then whoever was in that footage," I said slowly, "wasn't just close to you." Her gaze locked onto mine. "They were trusted." That word hung between us. Heavy, unavoidable. And suddenly, everything made more sense. The clean logs, the erased footage, the missing fragment. This wasn't an outsider breaking in. It was someone who had never needed to. "I can access the final layer," she said again. More firmly this time. "Yeah," I said. "You can. But if I do..." She didn't finish. Didn't need to. I nodded slightly. "You won't be able to pretend it's just a theory anymore." A long silence followed. Then she exhaled slowly. "Good." That caught me off guard. I frowned. "Good." She stepped closer. Close enough that I could see the shift in her completely now. No hesitation. No distance. Just decision. "I'm tired of not knowing," she said. That I understood. Too well. "But still. You realize what this could cost you," I said quietly. Her expression didn't change. "I already do." Something about that answer didn't sit right. Meaning? I asked. She held my gaze. For a moment, it felt like she was deciding how much to say. Then, meaning, she said, this system, the one you're exposing. A pause. Small, but loaded. I built my career inside it. There it was. The crack. Not in her control. In the story. Because suddenly, this wasn't just about betrayal. It was about foundation. About everything she stood on. If the fragment proves what I think it does, she continued, quieter now, then this isn't just about removing a few people. No, I said. It's about tearing something down. Yeah. Our eyes met again. And this time, there was no illusion left. No distance. No titles. Just two people standing on the edge of something that couldn't be undone. You should rest, she said finally. Not happening. I wasn't asking. I almost smiled. Almost. She turned away, heading back toward the console. But before she reached it, she stopped. Didn't look at me. Just said, when the time comes. A pause. Then, I'll need you awake. That didn't sound like a request. And for the first time since I woke up, I had the feeling that whatever came next was going to happen very soon. I knew something was wrong before the alarms triggered. It wasn't a sound. It was the absence of one. The building had a rhythm. Air systems, distant movement, quiet pulses of security protocols cycling through invisible layers. You don't notice it until it changes. And it changed. I was halfway sitting up before my body reminded me why that was a bad idea. Pain tore through my side, sharp enough to steal my breath. I clenched my jaw, forcing myself to stay upright anyway. Across the room, Aria had already turned toward the door. She felt it too. What is it? I asked, my voice rough. She didn't answer immediately. Her gaze fixed on something only she could see. Internal feeds, probably, running through her implants or the room's interface. Then, a flicker, barely visible, but I saw it. Something had gone dark. The corridor cameras just dropped, she said quietly. Just one. No, that was all I needed. Yeah, I muttered. That's not maintenance. Her posture shifted. Subtle, but immediate. From analysis to readiness. The door burst open before either of us could say anything else. 3 figures. Uniforms of her internal guard. Weapons already raised. Too fast. Too direct. No announcement. No protocol. That told me everything. House security breach, the one in front said, voice steady, almost bored. Governor Bennett, you need to come with us. Aria didn't move. Neither did I, because both of us knew what that line meant. And what it didn't. You're not scheduled, she said calmly. The man tilted his head slightly. Schedules change. Not without my authorization. A pause. Then, authorization has been updated. There it was. Not even hiding it. My pulse spiked. Yeah, I said under my breath. They're not even trying anymore. Aria stepped slightly to the side, positioning between them and me. Leave, she said. Simple, direct, final. None of them moved. Instead, the one in front shifted his grip on the weapon. Respectfully, he said, though there was nothing respectful in his tone. That's no longer your decision. Something in my chest tightened. Not fear. Recognition. This was it. The acceleration. They don't want the fragment found, I said quietly. Aria didn't look at me. I know. The man in front raised his weapon slightly. Not enough to fire. Enough to make the intention clear. You've been compromised, he said. Step away from the subject. Subject. That was me. I let out a slow breath. Yeah, I muttered. That tracks. Aria didn't step away. Didn't even shift. If you take another step, she said, her voice colder now, sharper than anything I'd heard from her before. You will be acting without lawful authority. The man smiled. Just a little. We're past that. And then he moved. Fast. Too fast for someone in formal guard gear. But not fast enough. I was already moving. My body screamed in protest, pain exploding through my side as I pushed off the bed. My vision blurred for a second, but momentum carried me forward anyway. I hit him before he could reach her. Not clean, not precise, but enough. We crashed into the side of the room, his weapon discharging into the ceiling with a deafening crack of energy. The other two reacted instantly. One lunged for Aria. The other turned toward me. Bad odds. Worse position, but I'd been in worse. The man under me twisted, trying to bring the weapon back around. I drove my elbow into his wrist. Hard. The weapon clattered to the floor. Pain flared white-hot through my ribs. I ignored it. Didn't have a choice. Behind me, I heard movement. Fast. Controlled. Aria wasn't standing still anymore. She moved like someone who had learned how to survive long before she ever learned how to lead. The second attacker went down with a sharp impact against the wall. The third didn't. He got a hit in. I heard it before I saw it. A dull, wet sound. Then heat, spreading through my side. Again, I staggered. For a second, everything slowed. The room, the light, the sound of my own breathing. Too loud, too uneven. Daniel. Her voice. Closer now. I tried to respond. Didn't manage it. The last attacker hesitated. Just for a fraction of a second. That was enough. Security finally broke through the system lockdown. Real security this time. Doors slammed open. Shouts. Weapons raised. The attacker turned and ran. Didn't even try to finish it. Because he didn't need to. He'd done enough. I dropped to one knee. Then both. The floor came up faster than I expected. Cold. Hard. Familiar. Stay with me. Her hands were on me now. Pressure against the wound. Trying to stop the bleeding. Didn't feel like it was working. Not great timing. I managed, my voice barely holding together. Be quiet, she snapped. But there was something in it. Not anger. Something sharper. Something breaking through. You need to. I started. I know what I need to do. Her hands didn't move. Didn't leave. Good. Because I wasn't sure I could stay conscious without that anchor. The room filled with movement. Voices overlapping. Orders being shouted. Medical teams rushing in. Too late. Not for me. For everything else. System access, she said sharply. Now. Someone hesitated. Governor, you need to. Now. That tone again. No argument this time. The interface lit up. Even through the haze, I saw it. Layers unfolding. Security barriers recognizing her credentials. Opening. One by one. The final layer. The one I couldn't reach. The missing fragment. Her hand hovered for a second. Just a second. Then, she accessed it. The data hit the screen. Fast. Clear. Complete. No corruption. No gaps. For a moment, no one spoke. Then I saw her face. And I knew. Whatever was in that fragment. It was worse than we thought. Much worse. I tried to focus. Tried to see it myself. Didn't work. My vision was going. Fading at the edges. But I didn't need to read it. Because her reaction told me everything. This wasn't just betrayal. This was foundation. And it was collapsing. Daniel. Her voice again. Closer. I forced my eyes to stay open. Got it? I asked. A pause. Then. Yes. Quiet. Controlled. But underneath it. Something final. Something irreversible. Good. I let out a breath. Felt the tension leave my body. Then worth it, I murmured. Her grip tightened. Don't you dare. I didn't hear the rest. The darkness came fast this time. And I let it. Because the only thing that mattered was already done. I came back to consciousness in fragments. Sound first. Muted voices. Controlled urgency. The low, steady rhythm of medical systems keeping something. Me stable. Then wait. Not the kind you feel on your body. The kind you feel inside your chest. Heavy. Pressing. Like something had shifted while I was gone and hadn't settled back into place. Then pain. Worse than before. Cleaner. Deeper. The kind that tells you survived something you probably shouldn't have. I opened my eyes. Same room. Different atmosphere. Less sterile. More occupied. You're awake. Her voice again. But not the same. I turned my head slowly. Aria was still there. Same chair. Same position. But everything else about her had changed. The composure was still there. It always would be. But it wasn't controlling her anymore. It was containing something. What happened? I asked. My voice felt like it didn't belong to me. You were stabbed, she said evenly. Again. Yeah, figured. You lost more blood this time. Also figured. A pause. You died for 11 seconds. That got my attention. I blinked. Did I? Yes. I let out a weak breath. Huh. Silence. Then, you shouldn't be alive. Starting to hear that a lot. She didn't react. Didn't deflect. Just watched me. Like she was trying to decide something. Did you see it? I asked. No point pretending. No point easing into it. Her eyes shifted slightly. Not away. Just deeper. Yes. That was all she said. Didn't need more. The way she said it told me everything. Bad? I asked. A corner of her mouth moved. Not a smile. Not even close. Worse. That checked out. I exhaled slowly, ignoring the way it pulled at the fresh stitching inside me. Who? I asked. This time, she didn't answer immediately. She stood, walked to the console. The room responded to her presence, systems activating, displays coming alive, data reconstructing itself across layered projections. She didn't turn them toward me, didn't show me. Not yet. Do you remember what you said? She asked quietly. About the system that put me here? Yeah, that it had roots. Old ones. She nodded slightly. Older than I thought. That wasn't good. Define older. She turned then, looked directly at me, and for the first time, there was no separation between her role and her reality. They didn't just support my rise, she said. A pause. They designed it. That hit harder than anything else so far. I pushed myself up slightly despite the pain. Designed how? Every opponent I faced, she said. Every vote that went in my favor. Every crisis that elevated my position. Her voice didn't shake, didn't crack, but I could feel it. They were manufactured. I stared at her. You're saying? I'm saying, she cut in, that the same network planning to remove me now is the one that ensured I got here in the first place. Silence filled the space between us. Heavy, unavoidable. That's not just corruption, I said quietly. No, that's control. Yes. I let that settle, because it changed everything. Not just for her, for everyone. You were never meant to lead, I said slowly. Her gaze didn't waver. I was meant to serve a purpose. And now, a small pause. Then, now I'm a liability. That tracked. Too well. They don't need you anymore, I said. No, she replied. And they can't risk me asking questions. I let out a slow breath. That's why they moved early. Yes. That's why they came here. Yes. That's why they didn't care if it was obvious. She stepped closer. Because they believe I won't act. I looked at her. Really looked this time. You're going to prove them wrong. It wasn't a question. She didn't answer. Didn't need to. The room shifted slightly as another layer of data appeared on the display behind her. Names. Connections. Structures. Everything the fragment had been hiding. You said the ring looked familiar, she said. Yeah. You were right. My chest tightened. Who was it? She held my gaze for a long second. Then, my chief advisor. That landed exactly where I expected it to. And still, it hit hard. The one who told them to remove me when you walked in. Yeah, I remembered that voice. Calm, controlled, reasonable, dangerous. He's been with you since the beginning, I said. Yes. Helped build your administration. Yes. Helped you win. Yes. I let out a quiet breath. And now he's trying to kill you. A flicker crossed her expression. Not surprise. Recognition. Not just him, she said. She gestured toward the display. Half of them. I followed her motion. Even without seeing the full data, I could imagine it. A network. Layered. Embedded. Everywhere. This isn't something you can remove quietly, I said. No. You go after this. I know. You're not just removing traitors. I know. You're collapsing the system. A pause. Then, yes. There it was. The line. The one you don't step over unless you're ready to lose everything on the other side. You built your life inside that system, I said. Her eyes didn't leave mine. I did. And now you're going to tear it down. Yes. I swallowed. That's going to cost you. Another pause. This one longer. Heavier. Then, it already has. Something in her voice shifted on that last word. Not regret. Not doubt. Something closer to acceptance. Like she had already made the decision. Before I woke up. Before I asked. Before any of this. I leaned back slightly, letting my head rest against the support behind me. Then what's the plan? I asked. She stepped closer again. Close enough that the rest of the room faded out. For the first time, she said quietly, there isn't one. That surprised me. You're just going to what? Walk out there and expose all of it? Yes. That's not a plan. No, she agreed. It's a choice. I let out a breath. A tired one. Those usually don't end well. No, she said again. Then, after a pause. But they end honestly. That hung there. Between us. Heavy. Real. You're going to lose everything, I said. She didn't hesitate. I know. I met her eyes. You're still doing it. Yes. A long silence followed. Then, why? I asked. That was the real question. Not strategy. Not survival. Choice. She looked at me. Not as a governor. Not as a leader. Just as herself. Because, she said quietly, you walked into my court covered in blood, to tell me the truth. My chest tightened, and I realized something. A step closer. Just one. But you didn't do it for power. I shook my head slightly. Never had any. That's my point. Her voice softened. Just enough. You had nothing to gain. And everything to lose. I said. Yes. Another pause. Then, and you did it anyway. The room felt smaller again. Not from pressure this time. From focus. Like everything had narrowed down to a single line between us. So now, she said, I'm going to do the same. I stared at her. You're serious? Yes. You're really going to give it all up? Her gaze didn't waver. For the truth. A small pause. Then, for something that matters. That was new. That was different. And I felt it. Right there in my chest. Stronger than the pain. Stronger than the exhaustion. You're not just talking about the system, I said quietly. No, she replied. And for the first time, I understood. This wasn't just about power anymore. It wasn't just about survival. It was about what came after, and whether she was willing to face it. Without anything protecting her. Without anything defining her. Without anything. Except the choice she was about to make. And somehow, I knew she already had. The chamber was full when she stepped forward. Council members. Press. Security. Every eye fixed on her. And for the first time since I'd known her, she wasn't standing above them. She was standing beside me. I won't speak in protocols today, Aria said calmly. No strategy. No politics. A ripple moved through the room. This council is compromised, she continued. Not recently. Not accidentally. It was built this way. Silence. Heavy. Dangerous. I was placed into power by the same system I now stand against. That broke them. Voices rose. Protests. Denials. She didn't stop. I have the proof. She reached for my hand. Held it. Steady. I entered this chamber once covered in blood, she said quietly. And he still chose to trust me with the truth. Her fingers tightened slightly. So today, I choose the same. A pause. Then, I dissolve this council. Shock. I step down as governor. Chaos. And I do it freely. The room erupted. But she didn't look at them. Only at me. He came to me with nothing but the truth, she said softly. A breath. So I gave up everything for him. And for the first time, she looked free. Thank you for listening to this story to the end. Don't forget to like and subscribe. Write in the comments what moment in this story impressed you the most. And also check out the other videos that just appeared on your screen. See you in the next video.